Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour. I am Kyle Anthony, your host. We're here. We have interviews, MMA banter, and betting advice. This week, UFC Vegas 80, we got Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green. We're going to be talking three plays here like we always do on the show. And listen, no UFC last weekend, but for those who do follow me on Twitter, at Kyle Anthony UFC, I did give out a little winner there for the big boxing match that was last weekend. We had Canelo versus Charlo. Canelo, big favorite. He was like a minus 400 favorite. Did give out Canelo via points, minus 125. So it was a nice little cash there. Didn't have too much exposure on betting last weekend, but we're going to have some big things going on this weekend. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. I got plays up right now at a discount, so go check it out right now. Also, the fact that right now, our sponsor, want to pay the bills real quickly. Our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy Sports. If you want to get into the fantasy side of things, I also give out a free pick'em every single weekend on my Twitter. And right now they're doing even more of a giveaway where it was 100% match up to $100. Now it's 100% match up to $500. So if you want to get involved, there's also a link down there to our sponsor and to get involved in Underdog Fantasy Sports. So with it being said, I think we should start talking the main event of the evening between Grant Dawson and Bobby Green. And before we do, listen, these beers were left in my house. I'm not really a big Ultra guy. I'm not going to lie to you, but let's get it done. Let's get it done. We got things to talk about. Welcome to the MMA Happy Hour. All right. Figured we'll talk fights and drink some beers, right? So, first one we're going to talk about here is Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green. You got Grant Dawson, big favorite here, minus 425. And the comeback here, Bobby Green plus 300. Now, this is a pretty wide line. We get it. And it's kind of one of those things where you're looking at it as this grappler versus striker type of matchup. Although, you know, Bobby Green, pretty well-rounded guy overall, but he's going to want to stay on the feet, utilize his good striking, utilize his fast hands, his, good range, good counter striking, all those great things that he does do. Those are what he's going to look to do. Now, again, I'm not going to have to tell you what everybody else is telling you right now. And it's, hey, Grant Dawson needs to wrestle, right? We all know that, right? So the path here is going to be Grant Dawson wrestling. We get it. We know it. And the situation here, when I'm looking at this fight, is not just the fact that he can go out there and he's going to look to wrestle Bobby Green, but kind of what he did over the last three fights. I thought it was very impressive how he fought those last three fights and really having two submission victories. You had a submission victory over Jared Gordon and also over Mark Madsen. Now, that fight against Mark Madsen, I think, really showed a lot of just continuing to evolve, continuing to get better, continuing just overall to understand. He's a high level grappler, but he's really trying to piece that all together and really utilizing the right tools over at ATT. He trains, and he's just only getting better with his game plan, his strategy. And there, I thought, really just showed it. You got a guy, Mark Madsen, who Olympian wrestler, strong guy, anything that he's going to do is going to be wrestle bound. And he went out there and out wrestled Mark Madsen, was able to get slick transitions, work to the back a few times, get him down, scrambling out of position. There were situations where it almost looked like Mark could maybe have an advantage or maybe pick something up in that particular spot. Wasn't able to do it. Then you saw Grant Dawson sliding to the back. And that, again, we're going to talk about that probably a lot here, is the body lock. He gets to the body, ends up locking that in, finds that finish late. But just being able to go out there and out wrestle Mark Madsen, I think, just says a lot for where Grant Dawson is going to be headed. And then you look at on the other side here is the fact that, the fight after that was against Damir Ismagulov. And Damir is a guy that, top level guy, top level striker, has good takedown defense. I think it was before this fight was like 80% takedown defense. He really just brings it all together. Very unorthodox. And we did bet as a client play Grant Dawson in that spot, but the way that he fought and what he did, I thought was so damn impressive, going out there, getting these takedowns, and not only just getting these takedowns, but again, controlling, being a little bit more methodical, not being as wild, not just going out there and saying, I'm going to look for this finish right away, getting the lock, getting the position, getting the control time, and then working his way there. There was just I mean, it's completely smothered anything that Ismagulov was able to do. Nothing that he was able to do was looking to work. He was able to go out there, keep the positions, get the control time. I just really thought that overall it was such an impressive performance for him going out there, not only out wrestling a wrestler, but then going out there and just completely washing a high-level striker who has good takedown defense. Really is showing it's very hard to stop Grant Dawson when whatever he wants to do. Now, I think the key here for him in this fight is going to be those slick back takes. And it is something that, you know, going back and watching his fights, going back and watching a couple of his fights, you know, going back and watch Cole's fights, you know, you see how quick it is. You see how quick. I mean, there was, I forget which fight it was on top of my head, but there was one of the fights where he took the guy down, and as he's taking him down, I mean, he's already latching onto the back. I mean, it was like such a smooth move where you don't really see that. You see guys getting takedowns. He's going to slowly work to the back, start to, work his way, positionally improve his position, all those things. And he can do it in just lightning speed. And that, to me, is really going to be where he's going to find a lot of success here. And Bobby Green on the other side has had issues, not only with takedown defense, but on the other side of it, really being giving up his back when he looks to stand. And we have seen that consistently. And that, to me, is really where Grant Dawson lives, is on people's backs. I mean, the guy is a human backpack. He can go out there, get those positions, control them, latch in. And I think that that's where he's going to capitalize. I think if he can keep those control, and consistently work and drain him, and really also not only that, but being at the apex. And now, I'm not saying always that if you're in the apex cage, the wrestler is going to beat the striker or whatever that may be. I just think in this particular situation, for a guy that is going to be diving at legs, going to be relentlessly chain wrestling, who is going to be looking to get your back up against the fence, it really is a bad stylistic matchup for Bobby Green. I mean, it just really is, where he's not able to utilize some of that space. I mean, the one thing with Bobby Green, that distance management, the footwork, the snappy combinations, it starts to slow some of that down, where Grant Dawson can really move forward. And all of a sudden, as Bobby Green's got his, looking to kind of create space, his back's up against the fence. That's where Grant Dawson's going to want to live there. And I think that's going to really, really hurt him overall. And I think, though, lastly is going to be the age. You're looking at the age here. Dawson 29, Green 37, starting to tick down. And that, to me, I think is also a big part of this, is really the last 4 fights for Green. I've always been a guy, and I know a lot of people say this week, I love betting Bobby Green at plus money, all that shit. But it is true. It is true that, hey, there have been some spots over his career where he is completely underrated, and he could do certain things, and the market's not really respecting who Bobby Green is. Now we're starting to see just a massive tick down overall. Now, yes, over his last 4 fights, 4 fights ago was Islam Makhachev. Can't hate it there. It's Islam Makhachev, the champ, but he goes out there and knocks out Bobby Green in the first round. Drew Dober, next fight, knocks him out, Bobby Green out in the second round. Not the greatest look either. But I think that the last 2 were probably the worst. And even one of them was a victory. But I think looking at the Jared Gordon fight, which was a short fight, it was a short fight, head clash, but early, Gordon was landing. I thought Gordon looked pretty good. I think it was a little bit of frustration possibly for Green, where he kind of dove forward, or, it just looked like a stupid move from Green overall. But mistake, not mistake, whatever it is, I thought that Gordon was doing pretty well on the feet compared to Bobby Green, where Green, that really should be where he's lasting and he's landing and he's outstriking Gordon. He goes out there, it's no contest. But even the fight against Tony Ferguson, I mean, this is a completely drained, completely done shell of himself, Tony Ferguson. And that first round, Tony Ferguson won the first round, and that, to me, again, is just not saying the right things for Bobby Green overall. Love the guy, awesome, fighter, great character and personality in the UFC. But here, terrible showing, I think, is going to be coming for him in this spot. And I think it's just too much. Bad stylistic matchup in the apex. I think a lot of things are up against him in this spot. So listen, getting off the minus 425 number, I think Dawson, ITD, inside the distance, minus 135, feels like a gift. It does. It feels like a gift. I'm a little like, I can't believe it's this short of a number. So I like it. I think that he can get the submission. I think he can get some control time. Even if he can't finish Bobby Green via submission, I think he can just really latch on, ground and pound him, get that finish, or really work him, find that submission. But I just don't think that there's many areas that Bobby's going to have success. So in this spot here, I do like Grant Dawson via ITD minus 135 to get the job done. Now, next we're going to quickly go over here is going to be Bill Algeo versus Alexander Hernandez. Now, you got Algeo minus 145. In the comeback here, you've got Hernandez. He is going to be plus 125. Now, this spot here, when you're looking at it, I know, again, here's another talking point that people talk about is going to be, hey, Hernandez just lost to a very similar stylistic matchup that Billy Q did just a fight ago, and Billy A is going to be able to do very similar to that. Hold on. And I get it. I get it. There are some similarities. There are some things that they're both going to be able to do. There are going to be some certain. I get that. But also, if you look at it, Billy Q does a lot of things better than Algeo does. Just a lot of better things better. And I think one of the things is really going to be the cardio. I think it's going to be the cardio. I really do give a lot of that to Billy Q. And that to me is really where Hernandez fucked up in their last fight. I mean, clearly I think he fucked up because that first round, when he was fighting Billy Q, he looked good. He was really, he's pressuring him. He was getting some takedowns, had some control time, was landing some pretty good shots and all those things. But the issue here is, and even the announcer said it, during the fight, it kind of seemed like he was just trying to out cardio Billy Q. He was pushing him, he was bullying him, he was getting in his face. And I think also kind of to that point, is because he was coming down in weight. He could be the bigger guy. He could be the stronger guy. And that is really where I think that he was going to have some of the opportunity to really manhandle Billy Q. But Billy on the other side of it, again, that's his bread and butter. The guy's durable. So is Algeo. They're both very durable guys. But I just think that his process is better in Billy Q. I think that his striking is better. I think that his scrambles are better. I think pretty much most of the things that really worked against Hernandez for Billy Q aren't really at that same level that Algeo is going to be able to do. And I think, again, the volume and some of those things, the pressure, those things just aren't. Billy A can do those. I'm going to fuck that up somewhere here. Billy A is can do some of those things, but I don't really think that Quarantillo, you're looking at what he does, how he was able to get out of certain situations, how he was able to bust him up. I think that, Algeo doesn't have that power. He doesn't have the striking credentials. I don't think the volume as much is there either. I think these are also all things that Billy Q does better. And that to me really starts to show that maybe there are opportunities here for Hernandez in this spot here. And, obviously, if we're looking at paths to victory, it's going to be here. It's going to be for Hernandez. He's going to look for those takedowns. He's going to look for the takedowns and going to look for that wrestling. And I think this is a spot where certain things that didn't work against Billy Q is going to work against Algeo. I really do. And I think that wrestling is going to be there. We have seen Algeo get taken down, and really struggle in certain spots, defending the takedowns, creating space. I think those are things where you're going to see Hernandez go out there, get the takedowns, get the top control, have that heavy pressure. And I think also part of this is going to be the physicality advantage. I really think not only the fact that he's going to be cutting weight, and I think when he rehydrates, I think he should be a pretty sizable difference over Algeo in this spot, but just overall, he's the stronger guy. I think he could bully him. I think some of the things that he was trying to do, again, should work where you're talking about Algeo in this spot here. And if you're looking at this also, I kind of tend to see that this fight going to the scorecards. I know some people are kind of thinking it's going to be a brawl and someone's going to get rocked, or those. I kind of lean towards this kind of going to the scorecards, meaning also the fact that I think that first round at a very high clip, you're going to see Hernandez get that first round and bank that first round. He's going to be more explosive. I think he gets some takedowns, get some control time, but I also don't think it's going to be this war, this absolute war that you're going to see, where I think it won't drain Hernandez as much. It will allow him to kind of dictate some of the pace with his wrestling and with some of his better striking overall. And that brings me to the other side of this too, was the striking. I think Hernandez is the better striker. I think he's more crisper. I think he's got better combinations. And also Algeo, you know, people say he's kind of an unorthodox guy. I think he's sloppy. I honestly think he's a sloppy striker. I don't really see much that he does where it comes to setting up his combinations, being technical. I think the striking and then the clean 1-2 shots and the straight shots that Hernandez has are going to have a lot more pop in it compared to something that Algeo is going to be firing off as well too. And also the fact that Algeo is hittable. You know, he's a guy that is kind of willing to go into the fire, but I feel like he just doesn't have that next level ability to kind of either dictate the pace, get the takedowns, really weaponize his cardio. Those are things that Billy Q can do. I don't put Algeo at that level. Again, I know I keep saying that, but I really don't, because I've heard a lot of people this week talk about that. And listen, anybody can win this fight. That's just the way that fights happen in the UFC. Anybody could win, but man, I like Hernandez here. I just don't really see what's going to be going on, what he can do. I think that, you know, the better striking, the worse striking defense coming from Algeo. I like Hernandez to dictate the pace. And plus at a plus number here, I like it here. So I'm taking Alexander Hernandez plus 125 as my other free play. And the last one we'll quickly go over here is going to be Karolina Kowalkiewicz minus 178 versus Diana Belbita plus 138. I said minus 178, right? For Karolina. Well, you see it on the screen anyway, if I fucked that up. All right, so in this spot here, now when we're looking at this fight, and when I was first capping this fight, I mean, you really see that Karolina, hold on a minute. Let's get some. All right. When you go back and rewatch some of Karolina's fights and just her career, you really kind of see it's been an interesting run for her. I mean, it really has. And kind of looking down some of them, I mean, when she came into the UFC, they really just they fed her to the dogs. I mean, they really, you know, put her right at the high level, facing tough competition. I mean, early she was facing like Jędrzejczyk, Gadelia, Rose Namajunas. I mean, she's winning some, she's losing some, and all those certain things. And I get it, but that just shows also that they do believe in her. She does have a high skill set, so all of those things. Then she took some time off, came back 2022, I believe it was. Maybe it was a year, a little over a year, somewhere around there. But the issue here is that prior to that, what was it? She went on a 0-5 run. So she went on an 0-5 run. Now, she, again, fought some tough competition. You know, she got brutally knocked out by Andrade. She got choked out by Jessica Penne. No offense against Jessica Penne, but nobody should be getting choked out by Jessica Penne at this point. So getting choked out by her, not the best look either. Then she took that time off. And then when she came back, as I said, in 2022, UFC gives her a rematch of her last victory, which was back in 2018 against Felice Herring. Interesting situation. UFC really trying to set her up and saying, hey, take that victory. You want to come back? We like your name. You're a marketable female. Come back. We'll give you a rematch of a fight that nobody gives a shit about. But we're going to give you a rematch, favorable matchup, get you back on winning ways. And that's what the UFC has done with her. And the last two fights, or last three fights, that's what they did for her. After she beat Herring, she beat Gomez Suarez. Now, you know, she's had moments and very small glimpses of looking like a solid fighter, but nothing to a high level at all. And Karolina defeats her. And then even most recently against Vanessa Demopoulos, I know she's on this card also, another low-level fighter. And it was just enough where Karolina could implement her game plan, outstrike Vanessa, doesn't really have the best striking, doesn't really have any striking whatsoever. She's just kind of a strong female looking to get grappling, but really that's just a Karolina opportunity. And that, to me, these last three fights really, to me, push this line wider. And seeing 3 straight victories for her, I think a lot of people and the market, I think, bet her. I think that you're a little more comfortable seeing a fighter who has 3 victories in a row, but in general, I think that's what's done it. And you're looking now at Diana Belbita, and you know, Belbita, you know, I mean, younger fighter, you know, I think stylistically, I think she's a little bit better. And you're looking at some nice plus money here against a fighter who, Karolina, I just feel like this could be the end. And when you're looking at age, you're looking at those things. I mean, 10-year age gap between these two, when you're talking about that much of an age gap, it really favors, over the history of the UFC, it favors the younger fighter by a wide margin completely. And also the fact that, you know, that stylistically, when you're looking at it, also 4-inch reach advantage for Belbita, 4-inch height advantage for her as well too. Will have the physicality advantage. I think that will help her as well. And these are the things that it starts to push you towards the dog here. And you know, I think that this is a spot where now, being in the apex cage, I don't really think it changes much. But what I do think that could help is the fact that Belbita is going to push forward. She's going to have the volume, and those are the things that I think give her a path: is the volume, the output, and having that reach. Because I don't really see, you know, I know Karolina's starting to work on her grappling, and you know, she's starting to look for takedowns and trying to mix it up, but Belbita's no slouch when it comes to some of these things, where I think that she can kind of create some space, utilize her range. She's a harder hitter between the two, and I don't really see much spots where she's going to have success, because again, that volume and that pressure from Belbita is going to look optically nice for the judges, where she's going to have that output. She may actually have Karolina on her back foot a little bit. She may be able to bully her a little bit, and those are the things that I think will start to look good for the judges and allow them to start picking her as the doing the most damage between the two. And I think that's a spot where this is going to be happening. So I do like Diana Belbita plus 138. I think this is a spot for her, the plus money. And again, Karolina, this point in her career, I just think that this, you know, it has looked great for her, winning against 3 very, very low-level fighters, although Belbita has also fought some pretty low-level fighters. I think this fight is much closer than this line indicates. I actually think Belbita could even be the favorite in this spot. I know that's kind of crazy, but I do like Diana Belbita plus 138 as my other free play. So there you have it for UFC Vegas 80. If you want to become a client for Wagertalk, link down in the description. Have my plays for clients up there right now. Check it out at a discount. Also, Underdog Fantasy Sports, got that down there as well too. So let's see how we do. Excited about another card. We're back. I mean, it's been a week and I'm fucking losing my mind, but we're back. So let's see how we do. Excited about it, and let's cash.